Does God get mad if we don't follow the rules around Sabbath? Hey, everybody, I am Pastor Nicole. Welcome to our Midweek Moment. This week we were talking about the spiritual discipline of Sabbath, and we talked about how when we practice Sabbath regularly, it can help detox our soul. One of the things I didn't get to in the sermon that I wanted to share about is about Jesus and his practice of Sabbath. We read throughout the gospel several times where people get frustrated at Jesus because he breaks the rules of Sabbath. In particular, there's a story in Mark chapter 2 where Jesus and his disciples are walking through a wheat field and they began picking grains of wheat, presumably to eat it. And the Pharisees see this and they get mad. And they're like, "You're breaking the rules of Sabbath. You're not allowed to pick or harvest on Sabbath." And Jesus tells this story of when David and his men were hungry, they went into the temple and ate the bread of the presence. Now, this is bread that was dedicated to God, and only the priests were allowed to eat it because they believed it was holy. But David and his men ate it and, broke the rules. Jesus goes on to say, man was not made for the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. What exactly does that mean? Great question. Here's how I like to interpret it. Sabbath is important. Jesus isn't saying we shouldn't practice Sabbath, but Jesus is saying that we shouldn't be legalistic about how we practice the Sabbath. So if you're hungry, you should be able to feed yourself on the Sabbath by picking some grain. The next story in the book of Mark is that he heals somebody on the Sabbath, and people are up in arms about that. And he's like, this man needed healing. There's nothing wrong with healing somebody on the Sabbath. What Jesus is trying to teach us is that Sabbath is good. We need Sabbath rest. We see Jesus rest throughout the Gospels to take time away to rest. But we don't have to be so legalistic about it. So let's say, Sabbath in the Bible and for Jews still today is on Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, the seventh day. So as Christians, we moved it to think about it on Sunday as our Sabbath because that's when Jesus was resurrected. Does Jesus or God care about when we're celebrating Sabbath, whether it's on Friday night, Sunday during the day? No, I don't think so. I don't think we need to get into the weeds about things like that. Instead, I think it's just important that we take the time to rest, to connect with God, to enjoy life, to have time set apart. I read a quote once about Sabbath. I think it was from Terence Freeheim, who I quoted in the sermon a couple of times. And he talked about how one day a week we get a taste of the reality, which is that God is in charge, because humans have dominion the other 6 days and we like to think that we're in charge. But on the seventh day, we're reminded that God is in charge. And so as long as we're taking that time to remember that God is ultimately in charge, that we need to worship God, that we need to connect with God, that we need to play and enjoy life, enjoy our families, enjoy our friends, enjoy our community, that's what Sabbath is about. So for me, I take my Sabbath on Fridays because that's my day off to do that. Sunday's not a day off for me, so it's hard for me to Sabbath on a Sunday. Other people, though, Sunday may be a perfect day to Sabbath, or maybe it's a Tuesday, maybe it's a Thursday. It doesn't matter. What Jesus is saying is we were not made as humans to behold to the legalism of Sabbath. Sabbath was created for us. We need to celebrate it, but we don't need to be beholden to it. That makes sense. So as you work on celebrating Sabbath and trying to get into a rhythm of Sabbath, 4 hours is better than no hours. Half a day is better than no day. Start small. Celebrating it on a Wednesday is great. Whatever works for you and your schedule. Don't get caught in the weeds. Jesus doesn't want us to do that. But he does want us to rest. He does want us to practice Sabbath so that our souls can be detoxed and we can connect with God in a way that really matters. Sabbath. We got to take time to do it. So I hope you will get in your Sabbath time this week, even if it's just a start with a few hours. And let me know in the comments how it's going for you. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.